For decades, squats have been promoted as one of the best exercises for building lower body strength. Many people over 50 continue to rely on them, believing that squats will keep their legs strong and their hips healthy. However, the way the body responds to squats changes with age. After 50, joints, balance systems, and muscle coordination are no longer the same as they were in younger years. Instead of building stability, traditional squats can sometimes reinforce poor movement patterns, placing more stress on the knees and lower back. For many adults, this leads to discomfort, reduced confidence, and a feeling that exercise is making things worse rather than better. The issue isn't that squats are bad, but that they are often no longer the most effective or safest priority for protecting strength, balance, and independence later in life. The reason this happens has nothing to do with effort or motivation. After 50, the body changes in subtle but important ways. Joint mobility decreases, balance reactions slow, and the nervous system becomes less efficient at coordinating complex movements like squats. When these changes are ignored, the body compensates by shifting stress to the knees or lower back. Over time, squats that once felt helpful can begin to feel uncomfortable or even risky. This is why many people think they are doing everything right, yet still feel unstable or sore. The solution isn't to push harder or squat deeper, but to train the muscles that stabilize the hips first, so strength is built on a safer foundation. If this helps you rethink squats after 50, subscribe for more science-backed, senior smart fitness guidance. Leave a comment below with your age, and tell me if squats have ever made your knees or lower back feel uncomfortable. Your experience could help someone else feel understood. One of the biggest risks of continuing to train the wrong way after 50 is the gradual loss of hip stability. Hip stability plays a critical role in balance, posture, and fall prevention, yet it is rarely trained directly in traditional squat-focused routines. When the hips cannot control side-to-side and rotational forces, the body becomes less steady during everyday movements like turning, stepping down, or standing on one leg. This instability often shows up as lower back tightness, knee pain, or a general feeling of weakness, even in people who feel strong. Over time, poor hip control increases the risk of falls, which become more dangerous with age. This is why focusing on hip stability, not just leg strength, is essential for maintaining confidence, safety, and independence after 50. Research now shows that hip instability, rather than simple muscle weakness, is one of the strongest predictors of lower back pain and balance problems after 50. The hips are meant to act as a stable center that transfers force between the upper and lower body. When that stability is lost, everyday movements become less controlled and more stressful on the joints. Traditional squats mainly train straight up and down strength, but they do very little to improve side-to-side or rotational control at the hips. These are exactly the movements needed for real life, such as changing direction, stepping off a curb, or catching yourself during a slip. Without training these stabilizing functions, the body becomes vulnerable, even if leg strength seems adequate. That's why rebuilding hip stability is a critical step towards safer movement, better balance, and long-term independence after 50. Another important factor is that traditional squats mainly target the gluteus maximus, the large muscle responsible for pushing the body upward. While this muscle is important, it is only one part of the glute system. After 50, the smaller stabilizing muscles, especially the gluteus medius, often weaken first. These muscles control pelvic alignment and keep the body balanced during walking, turning, and standing on one leg. Squats and walking provide very little stimulation for them. When the gluteus medius is underactive, the knees collapse inward, the pelvis tilts, and the lower back tightens to compensate. Over time, this imbalance reduces movement efficiency and increases the risk of discomfort and falls. Strength without stability is incomplete, which is why targeting these deeper glute muscles becomes essential after 50. This is why simply doing more squats rarely solves the problem after 50. When the stabilizing glute muscles are weak or inactive, adding more repetitions only reinforces poor movement patterns. The body continues to rely on the knees and lower back instead of the hips, increasing strain without improving control. True progress starts by retraining the muscles that stabilize the pelvis and hips before focusing on traditional strength. When these muscles are activated correctly, movement feels smoother, balance improves, and joint stress decreases. Squats may eventually have a place again, but only after the foundation is rebuilt. Training smarter, not harder, is what protects long-term mobility and independence. If this perspective helps you rethink lower body training after 50, subscribe for more science-backed, senior smart fitness guidance. Leave a comment below with your age and tell me whether squats have ever felt uncomfortable or unhelpful for you. Your experience might help someone else realize they're not alone. The good news is that rebuilding hip stability is both possible and practical at any age. You don't need heavy weights or complex routines to do it. Simple, targeted movements that train side-to-side control and pelvic alignment can quickly restore how the hips function. As these stabilizers wake up, everyday movements begin to feel more secure. Standing on one leg, stepping downstairs, or turning suddenly no longer feels risky. Many people notice that knee and lower back discomfort eases as the hips start doing their share of the work again. This shift changes how strength is expressed. Instead of forcing power through stiff joints, the body moves as a coordinated system. With the right focus, strength becomes protective rather than stressful, helping you move with confidence and stability well beyond 50. This is where exercises that emphasize lateral and rotational control become so valuable. Movements that challenge the hips to stabilize the pelvis from side to side teach the body how to stay balanced during real-life actions. Unlike squats, these exercises mirror how we actually move, shifting weight onto one leg, changing direction, or catching ourselves when balance is briefly lost. When practiced regularly, they retrain the nervous system to coordinate the hips, core, and legs as a unit. This improves reaction time and reduces unnecessary tension in the knees and lower back. Over time, posture feels more upright, walking feels smoother, and confidence grows during daily activities. By training the hips to control movement in multiple directions, you build a kind of strength that directly supports safety, stability, and independence after 50. One of the biggest benefits of this approach is how directly it transfers to everyday life. When hip stability improves, movements like stepping off a curb, turning quickly in the kitchen, or carrying groceries feel more controlled and less stressful. Instead of bracing or moving cautiously, the body responds smoothly and confidently. This reduces the mental load around movement, the constant worry about slipping, twisting, or feeling pain afterward. As stability increases, energy is used more efficiently, so daily activities feel less tiring. Over time, this creates a positive cycle. Better control leads to more movement, and more movement reinforces strength and balance. Rather than training for the gym, you're training for life. The result isn't just stronger muscles, but a body that feels reliable again, supporting independence, comfort, and confidence well into later years. Another advantage of focusing on hip stability before heavy strength is injury prevention. After 50, recovery slows, and small strains can linger longer, especially around the knees and lower back. When the hips are stable, they absorb and distribute forces more evenly, reducing stress on vulnerable joints. This means everyday movements and future strength exercises carry less risk. People often notice they can move with better control and less tension, even when tired or distracted. Stability also improves confidence, which changes how you move. Hesitation decreases, posture improves, and reactions become more automatic. Over time, this foundation makes all other activities safer and more enjoyable, whether it's walking, gardening, or returning to light squats later on. By prioritizing stability first, you're not avoiding strength, you're protecting it, so progress can continue without setbacks. Once hip stability is restored, strength training finally starts to feel productive again. Movements become more coordinated, and the glutes share the workload instead of leaving the knees or lower back to compensate. This often surprises people. Exercises feel easier even though the effort hasn't increased. That's because the body is now working as an integrated system. Balance improves, posture feels more upright, and transitions like standing up or stepping down feel controlled. With this foundation, adding resistance later becomes safer and more effective because force is transferred through stable hips rather than stressed joints. The key insight is that stability unlocks strength. Without it, strength training stalls. With it, progress becomes steady and sustainable. This is how training after 50 supports long-term mobility, by building strength on a base that protects joints and encourages confident, efficient movement every day. The real shift after 50 is understanding that progress doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing what the body actually needs. When hip stability and glute coordination are trained first, every other movement becomes safer and more effective. Pain decreases, balance improves, and confidence replaces hesitation. This approach isn't about giving up on strength or avoiding challenge. It's about creating the right foundation so strength can support your life instead of stressing your joints. Walking, squats, and daily activity all feel better when the hips are doing their job. Training becomes something that protects your independence rather than something you push through. If this helped you see lower body training differently after 50, subscribe for more science-backed, senior smart fitness guidance. Leave a comment below with your age and tell me which movement you struggle with most: stairs, squats, or balance. Your comment could help someone else feel understood and take their first step forward. What often surprises people is how quickly these changes show up once hip stability is prioritized. Improvements don't stay limited to exercise sessions. They appear in daily life. Standing on one leg feels steadier. Turning or pivoting feels controlled. Even walking feels smoother because the pelvis stays level with each step. This happens because the nervous system relearns how to coordinate the hips, core, and legs efficiently. As that coordination improves, the body wastes less energy on compensation and tension. Many people notice less knee strain and lower back tightness, simply because the hips are finally doing their share of the work. These early wins build confidence, which encourages consistency. And consistency is what turns short-term improvements into lasting change, supporting safer movement, better balance, and greater independence after 50. Another important benefit of this approach is how realistic and sustainable it is. After 50, many people stop exercising not because they don't care, but because routines feel too demanding, time-consuming, or intimidating. Training hip stability does not require long workouts or special equipment. These movements are simple, controlled, and easy to fit into daily life. Because they don't exhaust the body, people are more likely to practice them consistently. That consistency is what protects mobility over the long term. When exercise feels supportive instead of punishing, it becomes a habit rather than a chore. Over time, these small, repeatable actions quietly reinforce strength, balance, and joint health. Instead of pushing through discomfort, you're working with your body, allowing progress to build naturally while reducing the risk of burnout or injury as you age. Ultimately, this way of training reframes what being strong means after 50. Strength is no longer about how much weight you can lift, but about how safely and confidently you can move through daily life. Stable hips allow you to change direction, recover balance, and move without hesitation. When these abilities are protected, independence lasts longer. Squats and traditional strength exercises may still have a place, but only when they're built on a foundation of stability and control. This smarter approach respects the body's changes with age instead of fighting them. By focusing on how you move, not just how hard, you create strength that serves your life. Aging doesn't require giving up activity. It requires training in a way that supports balance, safety, and confidence for the years ahead. Over time, this approach also changes how you relate to your body. Instead of feeling cautious or frustrated, movement starts to feel reliable again. You trust your hips to support you when you step, turn, or shift your weight. This trust reduces unnecessary tension and fear, which often limit movement more than weakness itself. As confidence grows, people naturally move more, walking farther, standing longer, and engaging more fully in daily activities. This increased movement further reinforces strength and stability, creating a positive feedback loop. Rather than forcing exercise, activity becomes a natural part of life again. This mental shift is just as important as the physical one. When you believe your body can support you, you move differently. That belief supports independence, comfort, and quality of life well beyond 50. What this approach ultimately offers is peace of mind. Instead of constantly wondering whether an exercise is helping or harming you, you gain a clear understanding of how your body works and what it needs. That clarity removes fear and replaces it with confidence. You stop chasing random workouts and start following a method that makes sense for your age and goals. Movement becomes predictable again, not something you approach with caution. Over time, this confidence shows up everywhere, in how you walk, how you stand, and how you handle daily challenges. You're no longer reacting to pain or instability, you're preventing it. Training stops being about fixing problems and becomes a way to support your life proactively. This sense of control is one of the greatest benefits of learning to train smarter after 50, because it allows you to stay active, independent, and engaged on your own terms. At the end of the day, the message is simple. After 50, strength should make your life easier, not harder. When hip stability and glute control are trained first, every movement becomes safer and more efficient. You move with less strain on your knees and lower back, and more confidence in your balance. This isn't about abandoning squats or walking. It's about building the right foundation so those activities actually support your body. Progress comes from understanding, patience, and consistency, not from pushing through discomfort. Your body is still capable of change when given the right signals. If this video helped you rethink lower body training after 50, subscribe for more science-backed, senior-smart fitness guidance. Leave a comment below with your age, and tell me which movement you want to feel more confident doing: squats, stairs, or balance. Your comment may help someone else feel encouraged to start.